The Galactic Ultimatum. In the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Galactic Council reigned supreme. For millennia, this powerful assembly of ancient civilizations had subjugated countless worlds, bending them to their will through a combination of advanced technology, overwhelming military might, and sheer ruthlessness. Lesser species were given a simple choice: submit and pay tribute, or face annihilation. Resistance was rare, for few dared to defy the Council's edicts. Those foolish enough to try were swiftly crushed, their worlds left barren as a warning to others. The Council's dominance seemed absolute, unchallenged, until they turned their attention to a small, unassuming blue planet on the edge of the Orion Arm, Earth. Zalcor, the imposing Krathon overseer, arrived in Earth's orbit aboard his massive dreadnought, the Voidhammer. He sneered as he gazed upon the planet below, its inhabitants blissfully unaware of the fate that was about to befall them. These humans were primitive, weak. They would submit to the Council's demands or be destroyed utterly, like so many before them. A shuttle departed the Voidhammer, cutting through Earth's atmosphere and touching down in the heart of New York City. Zalcor emerged, his chitinous black armor gleaming in the sun, and strode towards the UN headquarters building. Humans scattered before him, staring in a mixture of awe and terror at the alien juggernaut. Inside the United Nations General Assembly Hall, Earth's leaders had gathered, called to an emergency session by the sudden arrival of this extraterrestrial envoy. Zalcor wasted no time with pleasantries as he addressed the assembly. "People of Earth," he began, his voice reverberating through the chamber like distant thunder. "I am Overseer Zalcor of the Galactic Council. Your world has been chosen to join our great assembly, to take your place as servants to the Council's will. You will surrender your resources, your technology, and a tribute of your population. In return, you will be permitted to exist under our rule." Silence greeted his pronouncement for a long moment before murmurs of outrage and disbelief filled the hall. The Secretary General, a tall, elegant woman with piercing green eyes, rose to her feet. "Overseer Zalcor," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Earth is home to many independent nations. We have no single world government, no authority to make such a decision on behalf of all humanity. We must discuss your demands amongst ourselves and with our people." Zalcor's eyes narrowed, fixing the Secretary General with a withering glare. "You misunderstand, human. This is not a negotiation. The Council has decreed your fate. You will submit or you will be destroyed. There is no other path." "And if we refuse?" the Secretary General asked quietly. Zalcor's mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile. "Then your cities will burn, your people will be slaughtered, and your world will be stripped of all that makes it valuable, left as a lifeless husk. You have one rotation of your planet to comply. Choose wisely." With that, the alien turned and strode from the hall, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Earth's leaders looked to one another, fear and determination warring on their faces. They had mere hours to make a decision that would shape the future of their entire species. In hidden bunkers and secret facilities around the globe, however, a very different sort of preparation was already underway. For decades, Earth had been readying itself for this very day. And the Galactic Council was about to discover that the primitive humans were anything but easy prey. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The Galactic Council had made its demands. Now, humanity would give its answer. Part 2. Unveiling Earth's Secret Arsenal. As Zalcor's shuttle lifted off from the UN headquarters, disappearing into the skies above New York, the world's leaders remained locked in tense debate. Some argued for capitulation, insisting that resistance against the Galactic Council was futile. Earth's military might couldn't possibly match that of a civilization capable of interstellar conquest. Surrender, they claimed, was the only path to survival. Others, however, refused to bow so easily. They spoke of self-determination, of the human spirit's indomitable will to fight against tyranny, and they revealed a secret that would change everything. For decades, Earth had known that it was not alone in the universe. While publicly maintaining a facade of ignorance, the world's great powers had been working tirelessly behind the scenes, preparing for the day when humanity would need to stand against an extraterrestrial threat. Now, as the specter of annihilation loomed, those preparations would be put to the test. In a secure command bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, the President of the United States stood before a bank of monitors, flanked by the leaders of a dozen other nations. With a nod, she signaled to her military advisors. Across the globe, hidden hangars and camouflaged shipyards suddenly buzzed with activity. Sleek, angular vessels emerged, their hulls glinting with advanced alloys and bristling with weapons unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. This was Earth's secret fleet, a product of the most ambitious black project in human history. Powered by fusion reactors and equipped with cutting-edge propulsion systems, these ships were capable of matching the speed and maneuverability of the Council's own craft. Their armaments, honed through years of clandestine research and reverse engineering of salvaged alien technology, promised to even the odds against the Council's vaunted military machine. As Earth's fleet took up positions in orbit, the Galactic Council's sensors registered their sudden appearance with alarm. On the bridge of the Void Hammer, Zalcor stared in disbelief at the tactical display. A species as primitive as humanity couldn't possibly have developed such advanced ships in secret. It defied belief. Yet there they were, a gleaming array of vessels ready to defend their homeworld against all comers. A chime sounded, signaling an incoming transmission from the surface. Zalcor accepted it with a stab of his clawed finger. The face of the Secretary General appeared on the view screen, her expression calm and resolute. "Overseer Zalcor," she said, "Earth has considered your demands. We cannot and will not surrender our sovereignty or our people to the Galactic Council. If you insist on subjugation, then you will find that humanity is more than capable of defending itself." Zalcor's eyes narrowed, his mandibles clicking in agitation. "You fool," he growled. "You would doom your entire species for the sake of pride. The Council's might is unassailable. Your fleet, impressive as it may be, is nothing compared to the full force we can bring to bear." The Secretary General remained unmoved. "That may be true," she acknowledged, "but we will not submit to tyranny without a fight. Earth stands ready to defend itself, no matter the cost. The choice is yours, Overseer. Withdraw your demands and open a dialogue between our peoples, or face the consequences of your aggression." Zalcor cut the transmission with a snarl, his mind racing. He had expected this to be a simple matter of intimidation and conquest, like so many worlds before, but the humans had surprised him. Their technology was formidable, their resolve unwavering. For the first time in his long career, the Overseer felt a flicker of doubt. As he gazed out at the assembled human fleet, Zalcor knew that his next move would be critical. The Council would need to reevaluate the threat posed by this upstart species. Earth had just become a far more dangerous challenge than anyone had anticipated. The lines had been drawn, the pieces set in motion. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance as the human fleet and the Void Hammer faced each other across the void, each waiting for the other to make the first move. The galactic stage was set for a confrontation that would be remembered for eons to come. The Galactic Council convenes. News of the tense standoff at Earth spread like wildfire through the galaxy. For the first time in living memory, a primitive species had openly defied the Galactic Council, meeting their demands with a show of military force that sent shockwaves through the established order. On Zathax Prime, the heart of the Council's power, representatives from 100 worlds gathered in the Grand Assembly Chamber. The air buzzed with tension and murmured conversations as the councilors took their seats, each delegation eager to assess the potential threat posed by humanity. Overseer Zalcor, his image transmitted from the bridge of the Void Hammer, addressed the assembled dignitaries. "Esteemed councilors," he began, his voice echoing through the chamber. "The situation at Earth has escalated beyond our initial expectations. The humans have revealed a previously hidden capacity for advanced technology and military might. They have rejected our demands and now stand poised to challenge our authority. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some expressing disbelief, others outrage. A counselor from the Kryn consortium, his scales glinting in the light, rose to speak. "This is unacceptable," he hissed. "No primitive species can be allowed to defy the Council. We must crush this rebellion swiftly and decisively, lest other client races get ideas above their station." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The Galactic Council had maintained its power through a combination of technological superiority and ruthless suppression of dissent. To allow Earth's defiance to go unanswered would be to invite chaos and upheaval on a galactic scale. Yet not all voices called for war. The delegate from the Orinthian League, a willowy being with luminous eyes, raised a slender hand. "We must not be too hasty," they cautioned. "If the humans have indeed developed technology that rivals our own, then a direct confrontation could prove costly. Perhaps diplomacy may yet yield a solution." Zalkor's image flickered as he slammed a fist against his console. "Diplomacy," he snarled. "The time for talk has passed. The humans have made their intentions clear. They seek to challenge our rightful dominion over the galaxy. If we do not act decisively, we risk everything we have built." As the debate raged on, a quiet figure sat at the edge of the chamber, observing the proceedings with a keen eye. Nexus, the ancient artificial intelligence that served as the Council's advisor and arbiter, had remained silent thus far. Now, as the arguments reached a fever pitch, it stirred. "Counselors," Nexus spoke, its voice a resonant whisper that cut through the din. "The situation with Earth is indeed unprecedented. In all my centuries of service, I have not encountered a species quite like humanity. Their potential for growth and advancement is remarkable, as is their capacity for aggression and defiance." The chamber fell silent, hanging on the eye's every word. "We must tread carefully," Nexus continued. "A miscalculation could have grave consequences, not just for the Council, but for the balance of power in the galaxy. I recommend a measured approach. Let us gather more intelligence on Earth's capabilities and intentions. In the meantime, we should seek to contain their influence and limit their access to other worlds." Zalkor bristled at the suggestion, but he knew better than to openly defy Nexus. The AI's wisdom had guided the Council for generations, and its insights were not to be taken lightly. As the assembly adjourned, the councilors dispersed to their ships and embassies, each intent on pursuing their own agendas. Some would push for war, others for caution. But all knew that the stakes had just been raised dramatically. On Earth, preparations for conflict continued apace. Factories churned out ships and weapons, while scientists and engineers worked feverishly to unlock the secrets of the alien technology they had acquired. Humanity stood united in the face of the galactic threat, ready to fight for its very survival. But even as Earth girded itself for war, there were those who saw opportunity in the chaos. In the shadows of the galaxy, old grudges and ancient ambitions stirred. The Galactic Council's iron grip on power had just been challenged, and there were many who would seek to exploit that weakness for their own gain. The stage was set for a conflict that would shape the destiny of the galaxy. As the Council and humanity maneuvered for advantage, the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. The coming storm would test the mettle of both civilizations, and only one would emerge victorious. Humanity prepares for war. On Earth, the revelation of the impending galactic conflict had sent shockwaves through every nation. The existence of advanced alien civilizations, long the subject of speculation and science fiction, was now an undeniable reality. And with that reality came the sobering realization that humanity was not alone in the universe, and that its very survival was at stake. In the face of this existential threat, old rivalries and political divisions began to melt away. United by a common purpose, the nations of Earth put aside their differences and mobilized for war on a scale unseen in human history. Factories that had once produced consumer goods now churned out components for warships and weapons. Research laboratories worked around the clock to reverse engineer captured alien technology, seeking to unlock its secrets and incorporate it into Earth's own designs. Military recruiters were inundated with volunteers, as men and women from all walks of life stepped forward to defend their planet. At the newly established Earth Defense Command, located in a sprawling underground complex, the best and brightest minds from across the globe gathered to plan humanity's strategy. Generals and admirals rubbed shoulders with scientists and engineers, all working together to devise a plan to counter the Galactic Council's immense power. Among them was Admiral Nora Sato, a rising star in the United Nations Space Fleet. She had been instrumental in the development of Earth's secret space program, and now found herself at the forefront of the planet's defense efforts. As she pored over the latest intelligence reports, Admiral Sato couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the sheer scale of the challenge they faced. The Galactic Council commanded thousands of worlds, with a military machine that had crushed countless civilizations over the millennia. Earth, by comparison, was a minnow swimming in a sea of sharks. Yet for all the odds stacked against them, Admiral Sato refused to give in to despair. She had seen firsthand the ingenuity and determination of the human spirit, and knew that her species had a way of defying expectations. If anyone could find a way to stand against the Council, it was humanity. As the preparations for war continued, however, a new threat emerged, one from within. On the fringes of the galaxy, a group of opportunistic species saw Earth's defiance of the Council as a chance to advance their own agendas. Spies and saboteurs began to infiltrate human space, seeking to steal secrets and sow chaos among Earth's defenders. The intelligence agencies of Earth found themselves locked in a desperate struggle to root out these infiltrators before they could do irreparable harm. Agents scoured the ranks of the military and scientific establishments, hunting for signs of treachery and subversion. One such agent was Marcus Black, a veteran operative of the CIA's extraterrestrial division. He had spent decades preparing for the possibility of alien contact, and now found himself on the front lines of a shadow war that could determine the fate of his species. As Marcus raced to uncover a particularly insidious plot by a Kryn Consortium spy network, he knew that the stakes could not be higher. If the Kryn succeeded in their plan to sabotage a key shipyard, it could cripple Earth's ability to defend itself against the coming onslaught. With time running out and the fate of billions hanging in the balance, Marcus and his team threw themselves into the hunt, using every trick and resource at their disposal to track down the enemy agents before it was too late. As the countdown to the inevitable confrontation ticked away, Earth stood on the precipice of a new era. The coming war would test humanity as never before, pushing it to the very limits of its endurance and ingenuity. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, the people of Earth refused to back down. They had united in the face of annihilation, and now stood ready to fight for their right to exist in a hostile universe. The Galactic Council may have had the advantage of numbers and technology, but humanity had something just as powerful: the indomitable will to survive, no matter the cost. As the fleets of Earth and the Council maneuvered for position, the stage was set for a clash of civilizations that would echo through the ages. The first shots of the Galactic War were about to be fired, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The opening salvo. The first blow came without warning. On the outskirts of the Sol system, a small fleet of Council ships emerged from hyperspace, their hulls sleek and predatory against the backdrop of endless stars. They were a scouting force, tasked with probing Earth's defenses and gauging the strength of its newly revealed space fleet. They did not come in peace. As soon as the Council ships entered sensor range, Earth's defense grid sprang to life. Automated weapon platforms and early warning satellites tracked the intruders, feeding data to the command centers on the planet below. In the space of heartbeats, the Earth Defense Fleet was on high alert, ready to respond to any hostile action. The Council ships, however, did not wait for an invitation. With a flash of energy, they opened fire on the nearest human outpost, a small, unassuming research station on the fringes of the system. The station's shields flared and died under the onslaught, its hull vaporizing moments later as the Council's weapons tore it apart. It was a declaration of war in all but name. The Council had struck first, and now Earth had no choice but to respond in kind. From the shipyards of Earth and its allied colonies, the bulk of the defense fleet emerged, a vast armada of sleek warships and heavily armed fighters. They accelerated towards the invading Council force, their weapons primed and ready. Leading the charge was the EDS Titan, a massive battleship bristling with the most advanced weaponry Earth had to offer. On its bridge, Admiral Sato stood tall and resolute, her eyes fixed on the tactical displays that tracked the enemy's movements. "This is it," she murmured to herself, her voice steady despite the tension that gripped the bridge crew. "The moment we've been preparing for. The Council has thrown down the gauntlet, and now we must answer in kind." As the two fleets closed in on each other, the Council ships opened fire again, their weapons a dazzling display of destructive energy. The Earth ships responded in kind, their own guns and missiles streaking through the void to meet the enemy head-on. The first clash was a brutal, close-quarters affair, with ships on both sides taking heavy damage as they exchanged fire at point-blank range. The Council's ships were technologically advanced, their weapons and shields a match for anything Earth could bring to bear. But the human ships had an advantage of their own: the grit and determination of their crews, who fought with a ferocity born of desperation and the knowledge that failure meant extinction. As the battle raged, the EDS Titan found itself locked in a duel with a massive Council dreadnought, a ship easily twice its size. The two Titans traded blows, their shields flaring with each impact, their hulls scorched and battered. On the Titan's bridge, Admiral Sato gritted her teeth as another salvo rocked the ship, sparks flying from overloaded consoles. "Concentrate fire on their main battery," she barked, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to take out their heavy guns before they tear us apart." The Titan's crew responded with skill and courage, pouring fire into the enemy dreadnought's weakening shields. With a final, titanic explosion, the Council ship's defenses gave way, and the Titan's guns tore into its hull, ripping it apart from stem to stern. As the dreadnought broke apart, its fragments spinning off into the void, a cheer went up from the Titan's crew. But their victory was short-lived. Even as they celebrated, more Council ships emerged from hyperspace, fresh reinforcements eager to join the fray. The battle was far from over. Across the system, human and Council ships clashed in a dizzying array of engagements, each side seeking to gain the upper hand. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and every ship, every crew member, knew that they were fighting not just for themselves, but for the future of their entire species. On the planet below, billions watched and waited with bated breath, their eyes fixed on the skies above. They knew that the events unfolding in the heavens would determine their fate, and the fate of generations yet unborn. The first shots had been fired, and the galactic war had begun in earnest. But even as humanity struggled against the might of the Council, they knew that they were not alone. In the shadows of the galaxy, other powers watched and waited, their own agendas and ambitions stirring in the face of this new conflict. The coming days would test humanity to its limits and beyond. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, they would not back down. They would fight, and they would endure, no matter the cost. For this was their home, their birthright, and they would defend it to their last breath, no matter what the galaxy threw at them. Unlikely alliances. As the war between Earth and the Galactic Council raged across the stars, the ripples of the conflict began to spread throughout the galaxy. On 100 worlds, species that had long chafed under the Council's rule saw Earth's defiance as a beacon of hope, a sign that the old order was not as unassailable as it had once seemed. Among these species were the Krathon, a proud warrior race that had been subjugated by the Council centuries before. Overseer Zal Kor, the very same Krathon who had delivered the Council's ultimatum to Earth, found himself torn between his duty to his masters and a growing sense of unease at the Council's actions. As reports of the Council's brutality and wanton destruction reached his ears, Zalcor began to question the righteousness of their cause. He had always believed that the Council's rule was necessary to maintain order and stability in the galaxy, but now he saw the truth behind the facade, a regime built on fear, oppression, and the crushing of dissent. In a moment of clarity, Zalcor made a fateful decision. He would not stand idly by while the Council committed atrocities in the name of peace. He would forge his own path and seek allies among those who shared his newfound convictions. Reaching out through secret channels, Zalcor made contact with the leaders of Earth's resistance. At first, the humans were wary, suspecting a trap or a ploy to undermine their efforts. But as Zalcor shared his knowledge of the Council's inner workings and offered his support in the fight against their common enemy, a tentative alliance began to form. Other species soon followed suit. The Orinthians, long known for their wisdom and diplomacy, saw in Earth a kindred spirit, a young, vibrant civilization that embodied the best of what the galaxy could be. They pledged their support to the human cause, offering their advanced technology and vast information networks to aid in the war effort. Even some members of the Kryn Consortium, long seen as the Council's most loyal enforcers, began to have second thoughts. As the true scope of the Council's crimes became clear, a small but growing faction within the Kryn broke away, joining forces with Earth and its allies. As word of these unlikely alliances spread, the Council found itself faced with a new and unexpected threat. No longer were they facing a single, isolated species, but a growing coalition of worlds united in their opposition to the Council's rule. For Admiral Sato and the Earth Defense Fleet, these new allies were a welcome sight. The Krathun warships, with their advanced weaponry and fearsome reputation, proved invaluable in the battles against the Council's forces. The Orinthians' intelligence networks allowed Earth to stay one step ahead of their enemy, anticipating their moves and striking where they were most vulnerable. On the ground, too, the tide began to turn. With the help of their new allies, Earth's forces were able to establish footholds on key Council worlds, fomenting rebellion and discord among the local populations. Slowly but surely, the Council's grip on power began to weaken, as more and more of its subjects began to question the wisdom of their rule. But the Council was not about to go down without a fight. As the rebellion grew in strength and scope, they lashed out with increasing brutality, seeking to crush any and all opposition to their authority. Entire worlds were laid to waste, their populations slaughtered or enslaved as the Council sought to make an example of those who dared to defy them. For Earth and its allies, the stakes had never been higher. They knew that they were fighting not just for their own survival, but for the fate of the entire galaxy. If they failed, the Council's tyranny would be absolute, and freedom would be nothing more than a distant memory. As the war entered its final desperate phase, all eyes turned to the skies above the Council's capital world of Zathax Prime. There, in the heart of the Council's power, the fate of the galaxy would be decided once and for all. Earth's fleets, bolstered by their new allies, prepared for the final assault. They knew that victory would not come easily, and that many of them would not live to see the dawn of a new era. But they were ready to pay the ultimate price, if that was what it took to secure the future of their species and all those who stood with them. The stage was set for a battle that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The Council's might against the courage and determination of Earth and its allies. The old order against the promise of a new dawn. Only one could emerge victorious, and the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. The final confrontation. Above the skies of Zathax Prime, the combined fleets of Earth and its allies emerged from hyperspace, a vast armada of ships united in purpose and resolve. They knew that this was the moment they had been fighting for, the final confrontation that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Awaiting them was the full might of the Galactic Council, a fleet so vast that it seemed to stretch across the entire horizon. At its center was the Council's flagship, a behemoth of a vessel bristling with weapons and shielded by the most advanced technology the galaxy had ever seen. On the bridge of the EDS Titan, Admiral Sato took a deep breath, steeling herself for the battle to come. She knew that the odds were stacked against them, that the Council's forces outnumbered and outgunned them in every way. But she also knew that they had something the Council could never understand: the unbreakable spirit of a species fighting for its very right to exist. "This is it," she said, her voice calm and steady over the comm. "The moment we've all been waiting for. The Council thinks they can break us, that they can crush our resistance and our hope. But they're wrong. We are humanity, and we will not go quietly into the night. We will fight, and we will win, no matter the cost." A cheer went up from the fleet, a roar of defiance and determination that echoed across the void. As one, the ships of Earth and its allies surged forward, their weapons primed and ready. The Council's fleet responded in kind, a wall of fire and metal that seemed to fill the sky. The two sides met in a clash of titanic proportions, a maelstrom of destruction that lit up the heavens like a second sun. Ships on both sides were destroyed in droves, their hulls shattered, and their crews consumed by the fiery inferno of battle. But even as they fell, more ships pressed forward, driven by a desperate need to see the fight through to the end. At the heart of the battle, the EDS Titan and the Council's flagship circled each other like ancient beasts, trading blows that shook the very fabric of space itself. The Titan's shields held firm, but as the minutes turned to hours, they began to flicker, weakening under the relentless assault of the enemy. But even as the situation grew desperate, Admiral Sato and her crew refused to give in. With a final defiant roar, they unleashed the full might of their weaponry, pouring everything they had into a single concentrated burst of fire. The Council's flagship shuddered under the onslaught, its shields collapsing in a blaze of energy. And then, with a blinding flash, its reactor core went critical, consuming the ship in a blast that lit up the battlefield like a supernova. As the flagship broke apart, a ragged cheer went up from the Allied fleet. They had done the impossible, struck a blow against the very heart of the Council's power. But even as they celebrated, they knew that the fight was far from over. Across the battlefield, the Council's forces fought on with desperate ferocity, knowing that their very survival was at stake. And yet, slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. Inspired by the Titan's victory, the ships of Earth and its allies pressed forward with renewed determination. One by one, the Council's ships fell, battered into submission by the relentless onslaught of their foes. And as the last of their vessels broke apart, scattering debris across the void, a hush fell across the battlefield. They had done it. Against all odds, against all expectation, they had emerged victorious. The Council, that ancient and implacable foe, lay shattered at their feet. As the news of their victory spread throughout the galaxy, a wave of hope and joy washed over countless worlds. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy was free, no longer shackled by the chains of tyranny and oppression. On Earth, the news was greeted with tears of joy and laughter. They had done the impossible, had proven to the universe that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. And as the people of Earth looked to the stars, they knew that their future was bright, that they had earned their place among the great civilizations of the galaxy. For Admiral Sato and her crew, the victory was bittersweet. They had lost so many friends and comrades along the way, had sacrificed so much in the name of freedom and justice. But as they looked out across the stars, they knew that their sacrifice had not been in vain. They had fought for something greater than themselves, for a cause that transcended the petty squabbles of nations and species. They had fought for the very soul of the galaxy, and in doing so, had forged a legacy that would endure for generations to come. And as the fleets of Earth and its allies set course for home, their hearts filled with hope and their spirits soaring, they knew that they had witnessed something truly remarkable. They had seen the birth of a new era, a time of peace and prosperity that would shine like a beacon across the stars. For this was the spirit of humanity, the indomitable will that had carried them from the savannas of Africa to the very edges of the cosmos. And now, as they took their place among the great powers of the galaxy, they knew that there was nothing they could not achieve, no challenge they could not overcome. The Galactic Council had fallen, and in its place, a new order would arise, an order built on the principles of freedom, justice, and the unbreakable bonds of fellowship that held the galaxy together. And at the heart of it all, the shining light of humanity, a beacon of hope and courage that would guide the way for generations to come.